Yeah, probably. I feel like it's 1:15,
What time is it?
right? It's 1:13.
Still.
They're gonna have to like come around. So just when that's fine. You're fine for right now, but just this is everybody except for JP, right?
Miss Maloney was after.
Okay. All right, we're gonna go ahead and get started. So what's your name?
Mariana.
Okay, if Mariana would share, what's one thing you'd rather be doing right now than this PD?
Cleaning my room. We just had a party.
I gotcha. And what's your name right here?
Michaela.
Michaela. Okay, what's one thing you'd rather be doing?
Walking my dog at the park.
Oh, that sounds nice. Mr. Whitson, do I dare ask?
I'll be gentle. Washing my car.
Okay, perfect. All right. So we'll go ahead and get started. This is the right approach, and if Miss McLaughlin, you will read the left side, this content objectives for us.
Participants will understand, practice, and brainstorm ways to incorporate writing into content and read short text to inspire original writing for themselves and their students.
And then Clevenger, will you read the language objectives?
My job is to listen and participate in writing activities and brainstorm and share ideas to connect writing to my content.
Perfect. Okay, so hopefully it won't be too painful. It sounds a little painful, but I promise I'll try my best not to make it painful. All right, so we'll just kind of start with some just my core beliefs and just things that I've kind of tried to keep in mind and keep at the forefront of, like, really this it's a pedagogical approach. So just the beliefs that students need to write every day. They need the time, the space to write in these low stakes environments. The opportunity to share their writing. So you'll notice today that I'm going to ask constantly, can we share? And that just helps to build community, and that helps to build their confidence sometimes. And then they need to see their teachers as literate adults who read and write often. Okay, so hopefully you'll see kind of how all of these things work as we move on. So one thing that is good that I do a lot in my classroom is called Quick Writes. So what this is, I spend a little more time on it, but like today we'll take 2 or 3 minutes to write together, and then we'll share out. But what this is I put a short piece of text. If you look in front of you, you should see Rambling Autobiography. Y'all don't have one, I don't think. I'm sorry. Already failed. What in the world? Anyway, you should see Rambling. Nope, you don't have one either. Okay, next group I'll do better. You should see Rambling Autobiography. So this is just an example of a short piece of text that I would put in front of my students every day. Okay, so as they walk in, maybe 3 times a week, however that might look for you. I would just give them something short, something quick to read. The only rule is they can pick anything that inspires them, okay? Anything that when they read, whatever the first thing or second thing that pops in their head is, that's what I want them to write on, and I want them to write the entire time, okay? So we're actually going to practice this. So we'll kind of read this together. and then we'll work on creating our own rambling autobiography. All right, so it says, I was born at the height of World War II, just as Anne Frank was forced into Bergen-Belsen by the Nazis. I adore Brigham's vanilla ice cream and a sugar cone and dipped in chocolate jimmies. October is my favorite month, when the air turns green pear crisp. I roll down the car window and listen to the maples turn apple red and the oaks pumpkin orange. I bought my favorite jacket for a dime at the Methodist Church rummage sale. I have lied to my parents. With 4 high school friends, I cut down a tree in the town forest for our holiday dance. I didn't know until the police arrived at the high school that each tree had been dedicated to a World War II veteran. I never read a book for pleasure until I was 38 years old. One of my students once leaned into me in an interview and said, my mother's having a baby, this is the one she wants. Or I slipped through a diaphragm, but my parents still love me. When I was 12, I set the organdy curtains in our bathroom on fire, playing with matches. My favorite place to hide was high in the maple tree in our front yard where I could spy on neighbors. I can still smell wet white sheets pulled through the wringer washer when I think of Grammy Mac. I dated Edmundo in high school because it angered my father. I fainted when I heard the sound of the zipper as the mortician closed the body bag holding my mother. I gave birth to twin sons. I once had dinner with Judy Blume. I'm a teacher who writes. I want to be a writer who teaches. Okay, so I put a list of things you can try because this might be new to some of you. So you can try kind of writing your own rambling autobiography, jumping off I was born and then kind of filling in like that. You can, if you see something in particular, like one idea that you have something to say about, then just go with it. Again, doesn't have to be good writing. Our writing doesn't look good every single day, every single time we do this. Just getting words on paper is kind of the idea here. All right, so I'm going to give you 2 to 3 minutes. We'll kind of see, we'll say 3 minutes. We'll kind of write for 3 minutes and just be open and willing to share that writing when we're done, okay? So I will put music on and we will write. go ahead and just wrap up where you are. I know that was really fast. If I was doing this in my actual class, like I say, we take about 10 minutes to write every day at the start. So, does anybody voluntarily want to share first? Thank you, sir.
My mom left a war-destroyed Europe for her better dream, which ended up in a tract subdivision in North Carolina. I loved Boy Scouts. We ran wild in the woods and motorcycles. They were my escape. My brothers and I are not as close as we could be, but I married well. She probably saved my life, certainly ended my bad habits.
All right,
That's as far as I got.
perfect. All right, and I do snaps for whoever shares in my classroom. Sometimes it takes off, sometimes it doesn't. I just kind of let it be its thing. This year it has taken off. All right. So, anybody else want to voluntarily share? One more person? Thank you.
I didn't do the autobiography.
That's okay. Yeah, that's perfect.
When the air turns spring fair, Chris is my favorite time of year. This is the time of year that my favorite orange pumpkin spice latte comes out at Starbucks. Fall and lattes are all things that currently bring me peace when my life feels in chaos. It's the time of year I can walk outside with my son and not have to put on his shoes because the concrete is no longer hot. The maples turning apple red is the start of the fold of the year and time of the holidays.
All right, I love it. Snaps for Miss McLaughlin. Yeah, and so I love that you started a different way. As I kind of read this, there were several. You could have. Did anybody like write about memory with like high school friends? That was kind of something I thought maybe I could go with that. Clevenger, what did you write about? Did you kind of do like the autobiography? Okay, same thing around. Okay, yeah, and that works. So another thing I like about this is my kids have done this one before, but I could totally put it in front of them again and say choose a different line. Okay, so you can kind of I feel like I don't ever have like I have too many things now that I want them to see. So, but if you're kind of starting like and you feel like crap, I don't have a quick write or I don't have something, it is okay to put the same thing in front of them and just tell them to choose something different. And just something to point out, I do this with them. So like I'm at the board while they're writing, I will check in, especially on the 10-minute mark if I kind of hear like, hey, like, where are we at? Like, if you're struggling with ideas, like some of my kids in my first period this semester especially struggle with getting started. So we might like think through ideas as a class together. I might go around and say, hey, Nick, what are you writing about today? Help somebody out, whatever, just to kind of get the ones that are struggling to start to actually get something done. All right, so next step is let's walk around the room. There on like the edge of the tables here, I tried to put them all kind of on this side, and then there's some around here and at that table on those desks. I just want you to get up and walk around. You don't have to necessarily read, but just kind of walk around and look at the different formats that these can take on, because it doesn't always have to be writing. I put different formats in front of them all the time. So just kind of take a second. I'll give you a few minutes. Walk around. As you're walking, just jot down in your notebook, hey, I like this format. I might be interested in trying this. If you think of something that's not here, you can jot that down. Think about how often you could see yourself incorporating quick writes in your classroom. And maybe just how you could connect it to your content. All right?
I know a lot of people want to ask this, so I'm going to. Can we snap our fingers some more too while we're doing this? Or?
Yes, you can snap all you want to. All the snaps. We're here for that.
Melt Taco, only from Taco Bell. Participating U.S. locations for a limited time only.
I'm in a middle school.
Right.
I'm in a middle school.
Right. So you wouldn't use...
I'm not sure I want to have a steady diet of good sex for 12-year-olds. I don't know.
You're going to change.
They would want to write about that. I got it.
Correct. So you change it, you
Yeah, okay,
pick it
okay.
based on
Something
your
like that.
audience.
That's it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you're good.
That's it. Oh my God.
Boy. Oh my God.
Okay, so we see.
So yeah, really here you're looking more at like maybe format for the intents and purposes. I tried to put some like short, really short, quick writings, but there's also a couple of longer ones. I'll give us about 2 more minutes. Is that good?
Okay, so I like this.
Okay.
So
Yeah. So like, and so then just when we talk about it, I mean, if you want some of these, I have like the.
okay, so just
So you would say like I would put this like I like the concept of like I think our kids would get something out of this, or this one spoke to me, so maybe it would speak to somebody else, and we'll. And if you'll just kind of start making your way back to your desks, I am glad that Mr. Whitson pointed out our infographic, our relation tips infographic. Okay, so that brings up a good point though that I didn't say. So even in your rambling autobiography, for you guys, you got this version. For my kids, I took out the part about like I slipped through a diaphragm, my parents still love me. I kind of cut some of the things out of that. So you can like take something that you see and you could just like black that part out, whatever. So I do that often, to kind of think about my audience, think about what I feel like they can handle. I don't want to read quick writes about my students' sex lives. So that is, I put this in front of my kids, but I said that one, you see it, that's all you do. Like we're not going there, okay? Because I don't want to. If you want to write about that on your own time, go for it. But I don't want to read that. I don't want you to share that. So for middle school, I would definitely say just jot that one out, black that one out, whatever. And just always be thinking about your audience. So Clevenger, we'll start. I'll put you on the spot. What is like a format? Did you see a format that you liked? What are kind of your thoughts about how you might use this?
I feel like it's really like versatile. You can use it a bunch of different stuff, obviously. And I really like YouTube videos, articles, poems, tweets, like all of those things.
Okay, cool.
Applicable.
Yeah, perfect. Anybody else want to kind of share their thoughts? Any ideas you had?
I like that inferencing photograph.
Okay, yeah, the photographs.
Yeah.
What content are you? What content?
ELA.
Okay, you're ELA. Are you saying? Okay, cool. I didn't know, like, because I was thinking about like music and stuff. You could do a lot even from like a music perspective. If you taught music, whatever, that could be part of their quick write. Listen to this piece and write. Like kind of what it makes you feel or whatever. Does anybody else want to share really quick?
The short film.
Uh-huh.
Movies. A lot of my kids like to draw. So I think if we wrote a story that they're
Yeah.
I think that would encourage them more.
Yeah, and that's one thing I like. I try to think of I try to put a different format in front of my kids each week, just because I think it's good for them to see, like, you are a literate person. You know what I mean? Even if you never really open a book, we want them to get there. But, seeing that you are a literate person and giving them things that are very familiar to them, very accessible to them to write and kind of gain that confidence makes a difference. All right. So we're going to kind of talk about next writing around vocabulary. We won't spend a whole lot of time on this, but if you will get into groups together, like just kind of get together by subject. I don't know. I know we have a lot of ELA. Oh, that'll work perfect because you two are history. And then if you guys want to group up the four of you, that'll work, okay? So you'll see that you have a stack of hexagons with words on them, and then you have some blank ones. If you'll grab 5 of those blank ones, okay? We're going to, because I went over on time for the quick writes, so we're going to kind of cut this down a little bit. So if you will write in your groups, once you're kind of together, just write 5 content area words on these blank hexagons. So just grab 5 of them and then write 5 content words. Has everybody got that? So like as a group, like you only need 5 as a group. Yep. 5 total together.
Did you want to move right here as well?
Yeah, you can just drag your chair. It's fine. You only need 1 set of hexagons per group. Sorry, I know. I made y'all move. It's terrible. I know. Trying to get some.
I'm looking at the ones that already have words, right?
If I'd known this,
You have both. So you're going to write in some words. So write 5 words in on the blanks. I'll give you like a minute to be quick. There's 4 of you. Think of like just a content word, vocabulary word. Think about your
Textual evidence.
Okay. You can think like too, like what's in your Wordly Wise? What are you teaching in your Wordly Wise books right now?
Persevere.
When is this session? Y'all getting it done?
flagellate.
Oh, Lord.
Apparently, we're not using that one for
It's
some
okay.
reason. I don't know.
It's okay. All right. And even if you don't have all 5, we're just going to go ahead and move on. So if you will take the hexagons that have words on them, okay, and what you're going to try to do is match some of these, connect as many of the words, so your words and my words, together. All right. So if I have, let's say, Colin Kaepernick might connect to cancel culture, okay? Or you could connect him to trending or whatever. So see how many you can make connect. I have no idea if this activity is going to work or not, so we'll see. So try to connect all of them together, or as many as you can. I like that.
And what if you're using your devices. And we'll go to training medical deal right there, okay? Cancel culture.
with education with that.
Can you find a way to like make them,
All connect? Okay.
so like you could even just move education, persevere, and then TikTok might call, yeah. So you could get them all to connect that way. All right, y'all go ahead and wrap up. And then we'll have Clevenger and Whitson's group just share one of your connections.
We had two words that we'd written down. One was constitution, one was navigate.
Uh-huh.
And we tied that to TikTok and trending because, constitutional questions over TikTok, et cetera, you have to navigate there if you're on a device of some type or another, and it's a trending issue or topic.
I love it. Okay, and then this group, you guys share your connection, one of your connections.
My vocabulary word, whirly-wise, we connected it to Colin Kaepernick, persevere.
Uh-huh.
And cancel culture connects to TikTok and trending and COVID-19.
All right, perfect. So, again, because this is writing, this is about writing and incorporating writing, you would have kids do this, and then they would write about their whatever. So, like, I've had mine get in groups, do this, and then they all have to write about a different connection. Okay, so then they kind of have a collection of connections to, with real world things. So like, and you can do this really in any stage of vocabulary building because I've done it as an introductory activity. And so like I say, find the word persevere. This is what this word means. Now find one of my words to connect it to. Okay, so I try to find some of those kind of vague terms that they would be familiar with, that are relevant to their lives, whatever, and then help them kind of build that to my content vocabulary, and then obviously write about it. Okay, so that's just another quick way to incorporate some writing. Vocabulary, you guys can move back to your desks now, I'm sorry. Another idea, I'll kind of talk while you're moving. If you look at that purple sheet, everybody should have, hopefully if I did it right this time, you should have this excerpt. So anytime you come across a quick write, if you find something in your reading, just thinking about, okay, well, how could I tie this to vocabulary? I gave this to them as a quick write, and then I realized, hey, they could do this with a vocabulary word. So in this quick write, the original one, they had to pick, like they just, obviously had to pick a line, an idea, whatever. But what she's doing here is personifying a word, right? She's telling us if compassion really was a person, compassion wears Saturn's rings on her fingers of her left hand. She is intimate with the life force. She understands the meaning of sacrifice. She is not afraid to die. There's nothing you cannot tell her. So then, asking them, hey, do that with temerity. Okay, so that was one of our vocabulary words from this last time. So just asking them to pick one of their words and kind of create, like, what would that word, how could you personify that word, bring that word to life? You can scaffold this in 100 different ways, but really I just kind of wanted to show you this to show you how maybe sometimes you can connect the quick writes to building content vocabulary as well. And then something else I've done is a vocabulary story. So give them a vocabulary word or let them choose from a list. They have to write it at the top of their paper. I've given them, I'm going to pull up the template. So on the left side, they would write what the word is, can, or does. So if I've got the word elation, it is, can, or does, happy, screaming, jumping, joyous, excited, laughing, skipping, is not, cannot, does not, won't. It's not somber, it's not serious, it's not calm, all right? So then they have to write a story with that, write their little script. So elation skips through the woods on a bright sunny day in Joytown, California. It's going to be a fantastic day. I can feel the excitement in the air, she said out loud to the trees, which seemed to be dancing in the breeze. You see what I'm doing there? So everything that I'm including, all the details I'm including in that story relate to that vocabulary word. I've done this with like MTV Cribs. So we watched a clip of MTV Cribs, and then I'm like, hey, if elation had a crib, what would it look like? All right, and so then they have to like give me details about, you know, how it's laid out, whatever, what kind of qualities, features would that house have. That makes sense. So again, always think about formats that are familiar to them. Think about how to like get weird sometimes. Like that's what I tell kind of teachers who ask me for advice, is just what's the weirdest way that you could do this, because they really do like weird. Same thing with acrostic poem. So choose a vocabulary word from their list. They would work together to describe and define that word in acrostic poem. So like the word rapid, it's really fast, abruptly done, passing everyone, is not slow, done quickly. So they would do that. What I did was get them to hang them up in the room. Then they had to walk around, pick 3 to define in their own words. Okay, so these are just really, really easy ways to get them writing while we're also getting through like some vocabulary work as well, some word work. All right, so just quickly, you don't have to write this if you don't want to in your notebook, but you can. How might you tweak one of these activities to fit your content? How could you incorporate writing into your vocabulary practice? And I'll give you a minute to think about it. I know that was a really quick plug. Or just sharing like ways maybe that you already, you know, that we can kind of help each other. Like how do we incorporate writing and vocabulary at the same time? Is that hard? That's what I know, because I saw you writing it. So you want to share?
Oh, okay. That's your comment.
No.
I think taking like the hexagonal connections and like turning that into a quick write. Like how does all this connect, or like drawing it to like current content or something like that.
Yeah, so like giving them like all the connections already, and then they have to explain it. That works.
Well, like I thought like some of these words that you already had, like if we're gonna like start reading the Crucible, like including some of those like core words that they need to know, and then some of the ones that they like could match with current day, and then going from there.
That's really cool. Does anybody else have any ideas? That's fair. Okay. That was really quick. I'm sorry. All right, the next thing I'll kind of talk about is using mentor text. So this is kind of how I run my entire classroom. When we read anything, we're answering the questions, what's being said and how it's being said, and that's as simple as it gets. So if they can read something and tell me what's being said, and then read and tell me how it's being said, I'm satisfied. So because our PDP and all of our principals want to focus on self-care, we're going to listen to a very quick podcast. You have the transcripts on your desk. It should say Optimal Daily Living. It should be like in that middle, whatever. So if you want to follow along, if you just want to listen, that's okay. But we'll listen and then we'll talk about it. That is not my podcast. There it is. All right.
What is intention setting and how to live?
It's only like 3 minutes.
By Shirley of daringliving.com. Do you ever feel like you've been on autopilot lately? Does your mind feel a bit foggy and unclear? Deep down, do you crave to live every day more fully, with more purpose and meaning? If you're currently feeling this way, then practicing living every day with more intention is super important. When you have a reason and an intention for doing something, going about your day just makes it feel so much more meaningful and worthwhile. What is intention, and why is it so important? According to dictionary.com, the word intention means an act or instance of determining mentally upon an action or result. Being intentional is a mental state that represents a commitment to carrying out an action or a set of actions in the future. You are acting from a mental state with the end or goal in mind. Having an intention makes you more aware of your thoughts and actions during the day, and also creates something for you to actively work for and look forward to. Instead of letting life happen to you, you can choose to be intentional about how to live every day. Ultimately, I strongly believe that being more intentional can give you hope. It can give you a sense of purpose, belonging, and acceptance of where you are. It gives you a reason to keep living and keep moving forward. The good thing is that being intentional is not difficult at all. Anyone can be intentional. It is a consistent practice and choice to be more intentional every day. Here are 3 easy ways you can set intentions and live more intentionally every day. Number
Right.
1.
I'm gonna stop us right there just because of time's sake. But there's kind of multiple reasons in when I'm choosing mentor text why I choose it. This was one of the first ones we did about week 3. Okay, so like after that 2-week period has come and gone, and they're kind of like, oh my God, we're in school every day, and blah 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 blah. So just kind of giving them, number one, a different perspective that they may not have thought about, right? So this is like a good way to throw out perspectives or ideas in the content and what's being said, but I'm not shoving anything down their throat because we focus on how it's being said, right? We focus on the structure of the text rather than the content. All right, so if I'm giving them this mentor text, our step 1, we review what 2 questions are we trying to answer as we read. As they're reading, listening, I'm asking them to note those 2 things. That's what they're annotating for, those 2 questions. Then we come to the board and I say, what do you notice? All right, this is an example of what mine came up with. So it's about how to improve your life. The title is straightforward. It summarizes what it's going to be about. The speaker introduces himself. The speaker tells us where he got his information. It starts with a bunch of questions. The first part defines the topic. The beginning also tells us why the topic is important. There's 3 strategies listed. Each strategy has a specific thing you can do. The conclusion's really short. All right, so this is like just the dump of, as a class, what did everybody notice? All right, notice the language. I don't worry about if they know, oh, there was a metaphor, and there's, I don't worry about that at this point. It's the next step when I say, okay, now we're going to write our own. We're going to write our own podcast transcript. That's when I try to fix some of that language, right? When I try to say, okay, you guys noticed this, so in your must-haves, I want you to hook your audience. I want you to use rhetorical questions. Okay, that's where I tie in the academic vocabulary and kind of start naming some of the things that they do know. And I'm like, you guys know, you guys saw this, you know this. Now I'm just naming it for them. Okay, so I make my list of what they have to do. Then we go into drafting time. Again, I'm always writing with them. I'm always on a board writing with them, whatever I ask them to write. I stop, like, as we kind of go to draft time, I'll stop about 5 minutes in and say, who's got a topic? Share out. We're constantly stopping, sharing out so that I can see, oh, Nick might be struggling or, whatever. So that's kind of how that works. And then the possibilities are endless, really, with this. Like, you could do movie trailers, you could look at news articles, children's books, podcasts, blogs, TikToks, public service announcements, photo essays, speeches, infographics, blogs, any kind of piece of writing you could imagine you could absolutely do with mentor text. So, we'll just take a minute. What are some of the genres of writing that you could maybe explore in your classroom? Just get them to look at, be familiar with, think about structure, why that would actually relate to your content. Well, I was going to give everybody a minute of think time, but you can if you're ready.
For social studies, YouTube's loaded up with rap battles, like between Napoleon and Joseph Stalin and
Right.
stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I'll get my students to, observe some of those, duplicate that with whatever content we're talking about.
Yeah.
Okay? And then say, guys, guess what? You just wrote poetry.
Right.
And because if you say write poetry,
It goes, yeah.
I can't do that.
Yeah.
Okay? Duplicate what you just saw here.
Yeah,
Okay, and it's hilarious, you know?
yeah. And that, I mean, that, yeah, that does a lot.
Kind of blindside. You sneak up on them. You gotta keep them guessing, okay? This is years of experience. Keep them guessing.
Yeah. Does anybody else have anything? Genres or structure?
More of a journalistic style.
Yeah.
Having them do like a TikTok, like, okay, you're gonna explain this for your TikTok video.
Right.
And just having them write that in that style.
Yeah.
And I do something real sneaky that I fell into by accident, okay? You know that first day of school where you don't know exactly what to do and you know that your roster is gonna change anyway? I give them a big note card. Okay, I say, by the way, I need your name and address. Just want to make sure that it's correct, okay? And on the other side, just jot down some things that make you or your family different from other families, okay? They think I'm after the name and address, and the second thing's incidental. It's exactly the opposite.
Right.
I have found out things about students that I will guarantee you they never shared with a counselor.
Yeah.
And it's just, they don't, there again,
Yeah.
if I said, tell me something spooky and weird about your family, I wouldn't get it.
Right.
But just, what makes them different?
Right. That's true. Yeah, that's pretty good.
We hate our neighbor's dog, I mean, things like that, you know.
That is so interesting.
I can't go into details, but you know,
Yeah. So interesting.
we were hungry.
Jesus.
We had company coming over.
Yeah.
Don't laugh.
That is crazy. So,
Be culturally proficient, man. Okay, I'm just saying.
yeah, the idea just in all of this and all these kind of ideas, activities is that they are low stakes opportunities to increase volume. So just getting our students outside of that. We're going to write one big essay. We're going to write two big essays, however many, big pieces of writing, and just get them just increasing that volume of writing, trying out different things in a low stakes environment, which is going to increase literacy. It's going to make them stronger writers. It's going to make them more confident writers. And that's what they need in the real world. You can use these pieces of writing as a springboard for bigger, higher stakes writing assessments, things I've done, remix projects. So, hey, pick something that you've done, pick a format. So take your podcast, remix it into a different kind of format. And kind of leaving that choice open again. And then that's where some of these quick writes come in, because if they've seen, a format that maybe we haven't written mentor text-wise, but they've seen in a quick write, they can kind of mash those up. And a mashup project, which is a little bit different, which would be like actually take this format and this format, put them together, figure out how to make them work together. You could even throw in like in a digital format or whatever. You can kind of make that what you want. I've done polished piece. So just teaching revision, because our kids really struggle with going back and looking critically at their writing. So, hey, pick one of your quick writes and let's polish it up. Let's revise it. Let's add to it. Let's, kind of teach that revision process throughout. And then they get through it. Or they really do. I've seen they do go back and revise more. I won't say it's always fabulous, but they do revise more, which is getting somewhere. These are just a list of resources. You guys have access to this, right? They have access to this?
Yeah, it's on the skid, like
Yeah.
on your,
The app.
get our presentation.
Yeah, so even like I get a lot of stuff off Twitter. You can search like the hashtag mentor text quick writes. I love the stuff that's posted there. So even like, if I'm sitting somewhere or whatever, I'm kind of always looking for that. NPR, Pew Research, Graph of the Week, Kelly Gallagher's got an article of the week. Informationisbeautiful.net is a great place for infographics. Obviously the TED Talks. I love like the slam poetry. Sorry. On YouTube, dailyinfographic.com. Speed reads by the week are my new favorite for news. I put those out for y'all, but I don't know if you're familiar with those, but the week puts out speed reads. They take they're really short, and our kids like them, and they're like actually really good. So just want to point out too, the best resources is you. So like what you do as a literate adult, what you come across as you're scrolling or as you're reading, as you're writing in your life, just kind of picking up things like, hey, my students, this might be a good perspective for my students. This might be a new idea that I could put in front of them that might spark something else in them. So again, just pulling excerpts from your own reading, whatever, that really is the best resource for finding mentor text. If you need any help with this or like want resources, I don't have my email up there, but we will get it to you if you want it. So are there any questions about anything? Was that painful? Thank you for the snap.
Before you leave, let's have a quick drawing. If I call your number, please report to the entrance to the media center to collect your prize.